Welcome back to Teacher Talks. I'm Maria Keffler.
And I'm Erin Brewer. And today we are going to talk about what's called now the Gender Sexuality Alliance.
Mm-hmm.
They started out being called the Gay Straight Alliance. And the idea was that this was an organization that was going to support same-sex attracted children and allow both heterosexual and same-sex attracted children to get together and sort of celebrate that it's okay to be gay or lesbian. That's how it started out. Now they've changed the name to Gender Sexuality Alliance. And the ironic thing is, when they first started, there were concerns that children would be recruited into what is essentially a group celebrating the sexuality of children. And we were ridiculed and told that's ridiculous. We would never do that. Well, Maria, do you want to talk a little bit about how that's actually happening?
Yeah, I've heard the same thing. I talked with somebody who was on the board of the Women's Liberation Front and told her what was going on with GSA clubs in school. And she was furious because she said, as a radical feminist, and I believe she was bisexual, she said, I expressed concerns about what used to be, what was becoming gay straight alliances becoming recruiting centers. And she said, I was laughed at. I was told I was ridiculous. Well, what's happened now? With so many other things, the TQ has taken over the LGB, and the trans queer groups activism have captured GSA clubs in schools, and they have turned them very much into recruitment centers. This is where kids go to the club and they find out about all things trans. They're celebrated for being trans. I've spoken to kids who said, I didn't really have a friend group until I joined the GSA club, and then suddenly I had all these friends all the time. One girl told me about being systematically encouraged to agree with, to accept, to embrace, and to ultimately announce that she was transgender. And she said, when I made the decision, I made a decision, I'm going to be a boy. She said, everybody in school celebrated me. Everybody applauded me. The other thing that I'm finding very problematic with the GSA clubs is they are being invited into other classes to teach sex and gender. In Arlington, in my district, I know 3 documented cases where kids were brought into, once in a health class, once in a gym class, once in a HILT class, high impact language training. This is for recent immigrants who don't have good English skills. They came in and taught sex and gender in Spanish in that classroom. And this is peer-to-peer sales. This is the same thing when your friend invites you over for a party and they sell Tupperware, they sell candles, they sell clothing, and you feel pressured to buy something because it's your friend. This is the model. That is a marketing strategy, peer-to-peer sales. It is now being used in schools and called peer-led sex ed.
Well, and it makes me really sad because I think of all the resources that these clubs have. And so it's not surprising that a child who's feeling very left out and alienated is drawn into this club, and all of a sudden there's parties, there's celebration, there's all kinds of funding that goes into this. And imagine if they took that funding that's going to the GSA clubs and put it towards an autism club, or a club for kids who are struggling in school, or a club for kids who have communication difficulties. Imagine how much benefit that would be. But instead, all of this money is pouring into the schools to tell children that they're born into the wrong body, which is fundamentally an ideology of self-harming, self-loathing, self-hatred, and dissociating from yourself and becoming another person. That funding could be going towards helping kids. Instead, it's going towards hurting kids.
Yeah, why don't we have clubs for the special ed kids? We could have a club just for kids with IEPs and support those kids who need the extra help. This is also a feature of cults. You mentioned when a child comes into the GSA club and is suddenly celebrated and how wonderful they are. That's love bombing. And that's exactly what cults do. They find vulnerable people, invite them in, and just shower them with love and affection, because we all need that. We all need love and affection. And cults use that very basic human need to recruit and retain members. And yes, this is a cult that leads to physical, emotional, psychological harm.